Hey, how's it going, everyone? YouTube and Facebook. Thank you all for tuning in. It looks like we got a couple people in the chats on the YouTube side. Justin, Boy Mesa, Duke Skellington, good to see you again. How's everyone doing? For those of us in the US, it's a day before Thanksgiving, so I'm sure many of us are traveling or we're finishing up the last couple hours of work. Let's see here. For Justin A, greetings, trying to stay awake at the office after lunch ahead of a nice Thanksgiving break. That's right, man. I can't wait for it. So how are you all doing? Hope everyone has been well. It's been a little while since I've seen you all last. I think the last time we were here, we were talking about Pod Express, just Pod Express in general, Pod Express Black as well. We had Anthony Tagliani up here with us. That was a lot of fun. But so as you may know it, which I sure hope you do, last week we released Helix 3.80. And a lot of really cool amps, a handful of really cool amps made it into this update. Not a whole lot of effects. I know for the very first time, since the release, we got a new Crybaby, or a new wah-wah, actually, the bass Q. So for you bass players, definitely check that one out. But I thought what would be cool today is just to check out the new amps we have. Two of them are some of my favorites, especially the new PV the new EVH that we have in there. So let's see what's going on here. This should be interesting. I can't get the update, so this is just HX porn. I like that. I got to throw it up, dude. That's awesome. So Justin A, how you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for tuning in today, guys. I highly appreciate you. And making this stream a lot of fun. So let's take a look over here. This is my screen share. And let's see. I think I have, there I am. Let me just make that a little bigger so you know that you're talking to a person here. And I'll just move this kind of out of the way. And here we are. So here's my HX edit running 3.80. If you are updating, or let's say haven't updated yet, I should say, make sure you update your editor first and then move on to your Helix product or HX device and update from there. So we have a handful of amps. Technically we have 3 new amps in Helix, but those, both of those amps have 2 channels. So if you think about it, we're actually getting 6 amps. So, some cool stuff going on here. So I think it'd be cool to start off with the little icon we see there, that little US Super Norm, which is actually modeled after a Fender Super Reverb. And so this is a really fun, clean amp, and if you know me from doing these, I'm not much of a clean player, but I will say this amp plays really nicely with the spring reverb. So just so you can kind of see what I have going on here, I'm using the hot springs. And whenever you look at my, and let me move this guy out of the way for you. Whenever you look at my tones, I'll move myself right there. Whenever you look at my tones, I always like to put reverb on a parallel path. It gives you that dry and wet type of a tone. If I were to just, take that path away, still a good sound, but as you can tell, I'm really tucked in under that reverb. So when you think of in a studio sense where you could control how much of your signal you're sending to the verb and how much of the verb you're, bringing into your recorded signal, that's kind of what we have going on here with this parallel split. So for us, cork sniffing, Helix users, this is nothing new, but surprisingly enough, I get questions on that quite often. What's the whole point? Why should I use splits? And, this is one example on why I use parallel splits. And hey, you know what? You could even throw a delay right there and you're good to go. So right now we're using the US double norm. And so you'll notice there are 2 channels. We have the super norm and the super vibe. And so that stands for vibrato. Now, although the 2 channels are essentially the exact same channel, If you've ever plugged into one of these amps, in person, in the flesh, you'll notice that the vibrato channel sounds a little different. It's a little scooped and it's a little darker. And the reason why is because the reverb and the vibrato circuits are wired in, to that channel. So you get some artifacts from that being there. So just to show you, this is us again, a nice clean sound. I could throw a nice Minotaur in front of it. Oh, are we not getting audio? Let's see here. I do not see my audio getting sent. All right, let's see what's going on here. Uno momento. You could probably hear my guitar coming through my microphone, but for some reason, as soon as the stream started, it's not getting sent through my classic OBS here. Let's see. Interesting. Okay, hold on. I'm going to restart OBS real quick, but I'll just be gone for about 2 seconds. 1 second. Okay, so now I'm back, and whew, just like that. Okay, so now you should be hearing some guitar. When in doubt, just a reset, right? So now, Justin, thank you for that. So that should be coming through a lot better now. So now you could actually hear that reverb and such. So I think earlier we were talking about parallel splits on why I split the reverb. So you may not have heard this in the full fidelity that I expected you to be hearing it. But if we're not using a parallel split, this is how our reverb sounds. So if that's the tone you're going for, all good. But if you're going for that, that little bit of that cleaner studio type of sound, there we have it. I still have the reverb, but you can hear my guitar right in your face. And you know what? You may notice that you turn the mix up a bit when you do this as well. So if you're someone like me who loves their reverb, that's with the Minotaur going. So not a bad sound at all. I could always turn this off and, again, have a nice clean sound. And then we could turn on a little bit of this, and honestly, guys, this is, practically the preset. So when you go through, the first couple lists of the first couple banks of presets, you're going to find this preset, but I made some tweaks, right? I moved the reverb down. What I love adding to every preset is an LA2A studio comp, or what in Helix it's called the LA studio comp. And you'll notice I moved the peak reduction down because I really don't want to compress the output of my amp. But this compressor is a very awesome compressor. And if you've been in and out of studios, they use this for everything. Vocals, drums, guitars, all of it. And so I took the peak reduction down, left the gain where it's at, and then, moved the emphasis around. You'll notice the LA2A is kind of like it responds to frequencies more so than audio level. So this, for me, just adds a little boost in volume after the amp, but it also warms it up. For me, it's just kind of like that missing piece. Presets sound great on their own, but as soon as you add an LA2A after the amp, granted, your volume will jump, but I don't know, it just warms up the sound a lot, and then we can get that. I'm in kind of like a surfer type of, Beach Boys, right? It's been a while since I played that one. And then, throw in a little delay before the amp. So if you're going for that classic delay before, that classic delay sound, throw it before the amp. If you're looking for a smoother and cleaner delay, move it after the amp. So I think we have a little bit of a slap back going here. And it's a very clean amp. So we were talking about the vibrato channel, kind of gave you an idea here of what we can do in a preset. So again, nice clean sound. If we go over to the vibrato, you'll notice that it's a bit darker. Now, granted, a little bit of the EQ changed, but vibrato channel, normal channel. They're a bit of a different animal. So if we look here, I think the presence was boosted a little bit. Maybe the mids moved, or was it the bass? Yeah, you'll notice. So even if we kind of match what we had with the normal channel, it's just a different, a little bit. It's just a bit different of an animal here. Move back over to that normal. The minute differences, but that's why you're going to see, not just with this amp, but really any of the other US or Fender modeled amplifiers that we have, you're going to notice there's a normal and a vibrato channel. And that's why we do that, because there's those tonal differences between the two. So sorry about that. I know I went on a tangent there. Let's see what we got going on in the chats. I want to think I'm still hearing the guitar coming through your Volca combined with the computer sound, getting your room sound too. All right. You know what, Deer Creek Audio, I think you're right. For some reason, my OBS. My OBS is getting kind of weird here. Let's see. Yeah, weird. It's like coming in and out, so I may have to do another reset. All good, but thank you very much for calling that out. Let's see here. So we got a quick question on Stomp XL. Hey, quick question on the Stomp XL. Is there a way to turn the unit on straight into snapshot mode? So there are, with Stomp XL, you can adjust what the bank up and down buttons do as well. So that's something I would turn over into the, if you just crack open that user manual, it should tell you, using the bank up and down where you could bank through snapshots, or, when you go from the mode switch, you could either have preset mode, stomp box mode, or, you could turn that over into snapshots, and then you could hit bank up and down and it goes from snapshots, to the other views that are available. So that is possible. But just for a step-by-step, just for the sake of time, crack open that user manual, and it's literally just a couple pages in and you'll be good to go. But yes, you can do that. Paul, I know. I'm sorry. I know. It's I don't know what is up with OBS at times, but I feel like I've been, been their beta tester, it seems like, because I always find the bugs. Guitar breaking up might be a bandwidth issue. It comes and goes. Duke, I agree, but I'm looking right here in my meters. Yeah, what's weird is it comes in and then it just disappears, and so I have no clue why it is like that. So sorry, guys. Don't mean to waste your time here as I stumble through these audio issues. Nothing could ever just work, can it? And so I don't know how many times I'm going to have to reset this, but hey, it takes a quick second. Uno momento. Boop, boop, boop. All right. So what's funny about this stuff is it always goes well and great when you test it, right? And then as soon as you hit the live button, that's when stuff starts coming unglued. You see in there, I lose it. I don't know what's going on there, but no worries. We room sound is okay. Yeah, no room room sound is not won't will not come close to the direct. So hey, the show must go on, right? So let's continue on. We have the PV Panama Red. So this is one of my favorite amplifiers. Actually, what we have here, what's going on is kind of the same thing what you saw in my previous preset, right? I have a Horizon gate, one of my favorite gates. You just put it on 0.5 with a tone like this, and no noise is escaping. And really, again, after the cabinet, we have that LA Studio comp set up pretty much the same way as I did with the with the US double, or with the US norm. And then we have that little EQ. We're just kind of moving the mids down a bit, and just this slight bump to the highs, nothing crazy. And then we're going into a room reverb, and then the delay as well for when we need it. Now, let's see here. I'm sure it's not going to come through. See, weird how it comes in and then it leaves. So strange. And what's funny, whenever we have issues with OBS here, it's always something new, so there that is. So what we have here is a model of the 5150 300 watt. This is a 6L6 amplifier, and it's like I grew up with Marshalls and such, so I was always living in the the EL34 land, or even smaller amps with 84s. And so I've always been really drawn to 6L6s. There's just a really nice, thick, a lot of meat to those types of amplifiers. And we finally have it, and when you think of the tagline for the 3.8 update, it's, the missing link, right? And so we've had the 5150 amplifier for, even before Helix, but, so it's been nice to finally get that 5153. I think it's probably one of the most requested amplifiers out of all of them. And it is just a killer sounding amp. Now there is also the blue channel, which is a little more tamed. Exact same amplifier. It's just, if you know the 5153, it's a 3-channel amplifier, clean, crunch, and lead. And so the blue channel is the crunch channel. And so that's our crunch channel there. I see in the meters that there's some weirdness. So if you hear my guitar going in and out, I'm super sorry. Out of my control. I don't know what is going on. I could reboot the whole system, but then I may lose my StreamYard connection here. And so, you just got to roll with the punches. So let's see what we hear. Can't use more than reverb. So why is DSP all used up with the Panama Red? So that's a good question. And, when you think about amplifiers, they use a lot of DSP. Now, granted, I'm using it was the Panama Red, right? So here we have the Panama Red, and you could see everything else I'm using here, right? I have the dynamic, my dual cab, a modulation being the flanger, a Minotaur, and a gate in the front. So I have all this stuff going on one path. And so, if we're talking about Panama Red, and let me just change over to the red here so we all know what we're doing, so we can all follow along. As you can see, I'm using more than just reverb. Now, what I like to do, and feel free to take this to your tone writing as well, is obviously once you start using reverbs use a lot of DSP. Amps use a lot of DSP. Modulations and even some dynamics use a lot of DSP. So you kind of sometimes, depending what you're doing, divide and conquer, right? So that's why I like to put my wet stuff on path 2 and my dry stuff on path 1. Now, if you're building maybe a dual tone and you want to use 2 Panama Reds, well, as we can see, or at least 2 amps using as much DSP as 2 Panama Reds, you could make it work. And, if there's one effect you want to use and it's too big, maybe find something else that's close to it. But as we can see here, this is pretty much everything I would need. Now when we look here at the model list, most of everything is available. I'm not seeing anything blocked out. And if I want to add it up here, you know what I could do? I'll just drop this dynamic down to path 2. And then now in path 1, practically everything is open and ready to go that I would want to add into this preset. So a little tone building, lesson there on the Helix is you have 2 paths, definitely use them. Now, if you're talking about an HX device where you could only use 8 blocks at once, well, taking a look here, I'm using 5 blocks up here, 6, with my LA, I'm doing pretty good. If we wanted to add reverb, don't have too much, right? But I could always go to Legacy as well. And these are smaller reverbs because these are M series, but they still sound great. And so we could dial that in as well. So not to go too far down the rabbit hole there, but yeah, using the Panama Red, you should be able to use more than just reverb. So very good stuff there. Yes, yeah, and Duke is definitely, hitting the nail on the head there. So thank you very much. And so, yeah, you're using HX. So, so on that, what I would recommend as well is, if you're looking at a definitely check what has been done in the presets as well. You could take guidance from there, but I'm using a dual cab block. I could always use just an amp and a cab block in one, and kind of cut out some DSP there. And really, if you're using an HX device and you're trying to conserve or get the most out of your DSP, you may have to be very picky choosy. But there's you wonder, why does one amp compared to the other take up more DSP? And it's that just goes to tell you the data that is in a single amp model. When again, we're doing true point-to-point modeling here. So there's, with an amp like the 5153, open that up compared to like a Plexi, and it's, apples and oranges here. And so there's a lot more to measure. There's a lot more to record and, put in this digital space. So that's why amps, some take more DSP over others. And that's just a testament to our modeling. We're not just making blocks with filters and different tones and stuff. We're modeling the real deal, right? So very cool there. So before I stray away from this here, we also have a couple new cabinets as well. So we just took a look at the red and the blue. But our own sound designer in-house, Ben Adrian, him and his, his hand-built, cartographer amp, he copied or took IR copies of this cabinet. And so we have some with the Mesa, with what is it, the vintage 30s, and different speakers as well. So these cabinets sound killer. Not only do they sound great with the cartographer, but even matching them up with a amp like the Panama Red, you can get some really, really cool sounds. So I'm just going to go over, and as you can see here, what I did is just select the cab block. Dual block is already set, and so I have the link dual cabs feature selected. So as soon as I select a new cab here, that's how I'm going to get both cabs to be exactly matching. And we could run 2 of the same microphone and it'll sound fine. Listen to the difference here. I know you're probably hearing that through my microphone. And that's a nice heavy sound. Didn't tweak anything, right? Now let's go back to how our tone was prior, where we're using the V30s here. not a bad sound. Let's go back to the Katag Gov. It's just a really crunchy and heavy sound. Not too shabby. Let's go over to the other cabinet, change this microphone out to something like the 47 condenser FET. This mic sounds really good pushed up. Over here, we're using a ribbon mic 3 inches away. So, I like to kind of move that a little back and capture some air. Let's hear the tone we have now. Maybe a little too airy. So let's move that a little closer on the cap edge. And then let's move this this 47 condenser like right on right on the cone there. So not a bad sound, so a really good sounding cabinet. Now let's move over to the Katag C90. And this has a completely different sound altogether. Same cabinet, but different, different speakers in it. So a completely different sound there. Granted, our ribbon mics are on a 45. So let's kind of move both of these back to where they are. So you may be wondering, hey, why would I use a dual cab block? And why would I even use a dual cab block using the same mics? Well, you can get different flavors with doing different accesses, even using the same mic at different distances. You could really, let's say it's a mic that you use and just love. Every time you go to record or live, you just go for that 57 or that, or that Sennheiser 421, whatever it may be. What I like about, in addition to the different tonalities you could get, is not so much the volume, but I feel like when you use dual cabs, you can really capture that air moving. And so whether you're doing live stuff or you're just jamming at home, having fun, or especially recording, that's where you're really going to hear that. So the Gov, I favor over this one here. Just because I feel like the Gov is a little more well-rounded and just has a little more bite to it. This one, it's a little more mid-rangey, right? So I'm pretty much setting up with the same mics. So as you can tell, 2 completely different sounds, but essentially the same cabinet with different speakers. Again, go to that Gov right there, and I didn't really even have to do anything to it. It just sounded really, really good. And of course, since I'm having audio issues today, you can't hear it directly. But for you users out there, I highly recommend, even pull up the EV Panama Red preset. If you do a factory reset on your Helix, you'll get the 3.80 preset list. And, this essentially, I just copied this over and made my tweaks to it, which isn't anything crazy. So you can definitely recreate this at home right now and change that cabinet out to the Katag Gov, the C90 as well, to get a to kind of compare. But that Gov I was really, really happy with when it came out, and it just may be my new favorite cabinet. And it just seems to pair well with almost any amp you throw behind, you throw in front of it. So let's see what we got here. I've just been going and going and going. Yep, you can go Legacy 2. Yep, that's right. Can't use phase with Panama Red. You need that for Van Halen. That's true. We can hear the strings more than the sound, dude. Vinny, I'm sorry. I am sorry. The new room. So what? I know. It is just it's just a crash and burn, right? Because we're not getting that guitar audio, and I just, I didn't want to sit here and waste your guys' time trying to dial that in. Let's do this. Let's try it again. Okay. It's a good sound, man. Good sound. Just in my testing right there, I'm just like, dang. Yeah, weird. Don't know why this audio is doing that. So if the audio is kind of weird and throwing everyone off, no worries. The next amp I had for you in the pipeline here would be the German Xtra Blue, and so this is just this is modeled after the Bogner Ecstasy. Now, obviously we've all come to terms that my audio isn't sending as it should, so maybe I'll hang off on that and just talk about what we have going on here. So the Bogner Ecstasy, anyone can raise their hand and remember the like the Line 6 DT50 amps. Well, this amp reminds me a lot of those, and it should, because that's when Line 6 and Reinhold Bogner were doing their thing, right? And they made several amps with Bogner. And one thing I love about the Ecstasy and just the style of Bogner is the control that you have over your amplifier. For example, the power amp, you could go from Class AB to Class A. So for those of us who are like, what the heck does that mean? Well, Class AB is the same power amp that you would find in an amp like a Marshall or a British amp, or even an American amp like a Fender, Mesa Boogie. When you look at a Class A, that is, Vox all the way, and any amp that is a chime amp, some boutique amps as well. And so that alone is going to greatly affect the feel of the amp. With a Class A power amp, it doesn't really rest like a Class AB. It's just always 100% ready to perform, RPMs at 10,000, not resting. So if you want to go between those two different flavors of amps, you have it right there. Next is the style. So you see triode and pentode. So this is speaking to the different parts of the power tubes. So pentode, which I and most people prefer, I think, pentode is accessing 5 parts of the tube, and triode, if you guessed it, 3 parts of the tube. So you're going to get some volume differences, and you're also going to get some audio differences, but feel differences as well. You're just getting a different reaction from those tubes. And so going from triode to pentode, that's what you're going to get there. And then your depth as well. So depending on how you want that low end and that low end crunch and palm muting to sound, you can choose what works best for you there as well. And then we have some other EQ things and some boost, some gain boosting as well. And then of course a bright switch. So as you can tell, I love my that 5153, right? But this amp really gives you a lot of control. And so I just kind of copied this over. What I like to do is I love to crank the AC ripple for the power amp section and lower the bias excursion. Lowering the bias excursion is really going to tighten up your sound, your low end, whereas raising it is going to make it a little looser and flubbier. So mess around with those as well. I think these field controls or power amp controls get overlooked the most. And so this kind of a thing here, I tend to do to most of my heavy sounding amps. I would show you, but apparently, my audio is just you took the Thanksgiving break early this week. That's what my audio channel did today. So no worries. Let's take a look at what we have here in the chat. They with more switches than a nuclear power plant. That's true. If you think about it. Us guitar players are very, very, what they call the cork sniffer, right? If you think of someone popping the cork off wine and sniffing the cork just to see how good it is or the age and this and that, that's, us guitar players, right? So that's what we're going to get from that amp. You have the blue channel and the red channel as well. The red channel is, if you guessed it, it's the lead channel. A lot of high gain. I would love to show you, but apparently my picking is louder than the actual sound here in the room, so sorry about that. And so that's really what we're getting with this 3.80 update. Of course, there was a lot of features, a lot of user requests that came out for HX1 as well. But just due to, the sake of time here, I wanted to really show what's under the hood, what's going on with these new amps. But if you're an HX1 user, definitely take a look at the release notes of the update. There was a lot of feature requests that came out for HX1. So that's what we have there. I don't believe I missed anything, but before I let you guys go, do we, any questions, anything, before we let you go for the time being? We'll probably be back with another live stream in a couple weeks, but, if everyone's feeling good, I just want to say, thank you for joining and thank you for sticking around through this weird audio issue. It'll give me something to figure out for the rest of the day. But other than that, guys, thank you much. Highly appreciate you being here. Just want to also do a quick shout out to our lessons. If you go to line6.com/events, you could sign up for a free one-on-one lesson to really, talk about, or go over, really any Line 6 product that's current. If you need help with tone building, or really whatever it is, they're free for the time being. So feel free to sign up and we'll get you going. But other than that, I'll leave the lesson link up as I sign off. That way you could, copy it down and sign up for a lesson when, whenever you see fit. But other than that, thanks again. Have a great holiday week and, just be safe. Happy Thanksgiving for you, to those of you out there. And yeah, have a good one. And thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you at the next stream. So I just saw this. Justin, my favorite Thanksgiving side has to be the stuffing. Or actually, wait, maybe deviled eggs. I think I'm a sucker for deviled eggs with a lot of sweet pickles and mustard. And so I've heard a lot of people don't really use sweet pickles in their deviled eggs. Anyone out there, have any reservations on using sweet pickles with their deviled eggs? Let's see here. Thanks for fixing the ratchet. Oh yeah, no, you're welcome. I know that one was a trip. Peace and thanks for the deep dive. Peace and thank. Yep, can't wait to go home and chug. Now we're getting the good deets. All right. I just had to answer you there, Justin. But thanks again, guys. We'll see you next time.